like to call this meeting to order. Can I get a roll call, please? Mrs. Chikini is not here. Mrs. Zelli? Here. Mr. Gassion?
Here.
Mr. Little?
Here.
Mrs. Morocco?
Here.
Mrs. Simmons?
Here.
Mrs. Malone?
Here.
Mrs. Zilbari is not here. Mrs. Stace? Here. We have a quorum. Thank you. Please join me in the flag salute.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The New Jersey Open Public Meetings Law was enacted to ensure the right of the public to have advance notice of and to attend the meetings of public bodies at which any business affecting their interests is discussed or acted upon. In accordance with the provisions of the Act, the Sussex-Wantage Regional School District Board of Education has caused notice of this meeting to be published by having the date, time, and place thereof posted in the school building and notice of said meeting sent to the New Jersey Herald and the Star Ledger.
The Sussex-Wantage Regional School District is a responsive, caring, and child-centered community. Our mission is to educate each individual to become a confident, competent, long life learner, and productive, responsible citizen by providing challenging opportunities in a safe environment through a partnership of families, schools, and communities.
Thank you. We move on to the report of the Superintendent of Schools.
Thank you. Just to report on a couple of small matters in between now and the last board meeting. We had a facilities B&G meeting. One of the more significant things we've been enduring is the snow removal and cleanup after a big storm. So we're having one of our private contractors come out and do a little extra snow removal by the exits and the entrances, freeing up some parking spaces. We just had a very preliminary budget meeting just to start brainstorming some of the challenges we'll face in the budget moving forward. In curriculum and special services news, Dr. Hutchinson's been working with our RTI coordinator to have RTI meetings with all staff in 3 buildings, and our RTI coordinator spearheading some attendance enhancement procedures with students. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. At this time, Ms. Heidi Wallach from Sussex-Wantage will give the 24-25 quarterly results.
Thank you for having me. First, I'm going to go over the financial results. So, assuming we handed out a 3-page summary, I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have. So, on the first page, we have a summary at the top of the general fund, which is the main operating fund of the district, where the bulk of the instructional, administrative, support services, transportation, capital outlay expenses are budgeted and reported. The budget is supported by 3 different types of revenue, local, state, and federal. The local revenue is principally the local tax levy, so that final budget for that was $18.769 million. The actual revenue was $18.755 million, so there was a small shortfall of $13,000, and that was due to a shortfall in transportation fees from other districts of $68,000, and that was offset by an excess in tuition revenue of $22,768 and miscellaneous revenue of $31,048. Then we have state revenue or state aid budgeted at $7.3 million, actual revenue $8.5. There was an excess of $1.185 million, and that was due primarily to excess in extraordinary special education cost aids of $1.198 million. Then we have federal revenue, which is the Medicaid reimbursement. The final budget was $67,000, actual revenue was $56,000, so there was a shortfall of $11,000. In each of the districts that I work with that get Medicaid reimbursement, we saw a shortfall in all the districts. They're just reimbursing a smaller rate. So overall, there was an excess in revenue of $1.16 million, very positive. Then we have expenditures and appropriation. The final budget was $28,748,000. Actual expenditures $27.425. Unexpended $1.3 million. But included in the $1.3 million was approximately $134,000 of encumbrances. Those are purchase orders which are placed at the end of the year for goods or services that aren't received or rendered until the next year. So they really get added into the next year's budget. So truly unexpended was 1.188 unexpended budget balances. Then Below that chart of the revenue and expenditures, there's a recap of fund balance in the general fund, where we started at the beginning of the year, where we ended at the end of the year. So the fund balance in the general fund started with 5.44 million, withdrew 500,000 from the capital reserve, 250,000 from the maintenance reserve, used 1.452 of other fund balance to support the 25 budget, liquidated the prior encumbrances of a little under 380,000. We add in the excess in revenue of 1.16 million and the unexpended budget balance is 1.3. So the total fund balance in the general fund ended the year at 5.344. So if you could turn to the second page, I'd like to go over the different components of general fund balance, because some of these funds are restricted for specific purposes, meaning they can only be used for that purpose. So the capital reserve at 6/30/25 had 550,000. So it was basically, you used $500,000 in the 25 budget, and then there was a year-end transfer of 500,000. So it remains the same. And the maintenance reserve at 6/30/25 was 250,000. Similar to the capital reserve, you budgeted you budgeted an amount and then did a year-end transfer the same amount. In this case, it's 250. But I do want to point out the fact that the capital reserve and the maintenance reserve balances at 6/30/25, those are both used in the fiscal year 26 budget. So technically, right now, the balances are zero in those accounts. And the capital reserve was used for the local share of projects in the Little Reach Facility Plan. It's always very good to have money in capital reserve because it helps in the budget. Sometimes it's hard to do capital within the 2% budget. And the maintenance reserve has become a lot more popular in districts ever since COVID. That we can use for any kind of projects in the comprehensive maintenance plan. It's the easiest one to get money out of during the year. And then you have some excess surplus, that which was calculated at 6/30/24, which is the excess surplus being used in this 26 budget of 1.4 million, and then the excess surplus to be used in the fiscal year 27 budget of 381,000. And you'll notice that it is a lot lower. I'll explain that in a minute. Then we have unemployment compensation, which is to be used solely for unemployment claims. That's 571,000. Then we have 134,000 in encumbrances. Now they can vary year to year depending on the projects and when you've ordered and received things. So it is 134. It is down, but like I said, it was due to the timing of projects and orders. Then you can appropriate an additional amount of surplus to be used in the next year's budget. So in this case, you use an additional 305,000 along with the 1.4 in the 26 budget of surplus. And then the unassigned is 1.746. Now that's a lot higher, and I'll go over that in a minute because of the excess and the extraordinary. So if you be kind enough to turn to the third page, we have a calculation of excess surplus. It's pretty much a mathematical calculation required by Department of Education. So you take the total expenditures for the year, general fund expenditures of 27 million, you times 2%. It comes to the 548,509. Then Department of Education says if you have any excess revenue in certain state aid categories, in this case, extraordinary aid, you can add that to the 2% amount of 548 to come up with the combined maximum unassigned. So that's 1.7 million. And then we have another mathematical calculation to get down to see if we have any excess surplus. So we take the total surplus of 5.344 million. Then we're basically subtracting out that money that's been restricted or set aside for specific purposes, the 134,000 encumbrances, the excess surplus using the 26 budget of the 1.4 million, all those restricted fund balances added together of 1.371. And the assigned designated of 305,000. So that net amount is 2.127 million. You compare that against the max, and if the unassigned amount is greater than the maximum unassigned, you have excess surplus. So you have 381,000 that's locked in and must be used in 27. But as you can see, the unassigned has gone up a lot because the excess extraordinary every aide was a lot more than in the prior year. So I just wanted to point that out. And then if you'd be kind enough to turn to the first page again, we're gonna go over some additional funds. So if we go like 2/3 down the page, we have the enterprise funds. These are supposed to be operated like a business. You have two of those. That's the cafeteria, the food service fund, and the care program. So they're supposed to be self-supporting. So we had net position, which is similar to fund balance, just a terminology that the GASB who sets all the terminology and the presentation of the financial statements for governments to be. So that net position increased about $30,000 to $396,530. And that increase was due primarily to an increase in federal and state subsidy reimbursement. So the district receives money from the state and federal government for any paid, free, and reduced lunches and breakfast that are served. So that's a healthy fund balance in the service fund. Then that position increased $13,000 to $206,000 in the care program, and that increase was due to an increase in program fees and a decrease in operating expenses. So the care program also has a healthy net position, and then you have two different types of long-term liabilities. The first is compensated absences payment. That's a required calculation estimate of the unused sick and vacation time of the staff. Of course, it just gets budgeted and paid out in the year that they're going to retire, so it's not as though that amount is due and payable right away. And then you also have the net pension liability of $3.568 million in the PRS pension system. That's traditionally like staff, your secretaries, your aides, if you have any transportation staff and custodians, and that's the liability of the district. And that also is paid, whatever the bill is for the year they get from the Division of Pensions you pay. It's not as though that full amount is due and paid. And the other pension system that the staff is in is the TPF pension system, and that's generally the certificated staff, and they're in, that liability is paid by the state of New Jersey. Can I answer any questions for anybody on the finances? Then I'm gonna move along to the results of the audit. We have a few comments and one formal recommendation. So, the first comment has to do with the June bank reconciliations for the operating net payroll and the food service fund. We noticed that in the general operating account, when we first looked at it, there was a large unidentified reconciling item which didn't appear to be valid, so Mrs. Riker was able to separately resolve that for us. We also noticed that the food service fund bank rec didn't agree with the balance didn't agree with between the general ledger and the bank rec, so that was also resolved with Christine's help. And finally, we noticed that there was also an unidentified reconciling item on the net payroll bank rec, and I know that the business office was resolving that, so we didn't feel that formal recommendation was warranted. And then there were two comments with respect to the food service fund. One is we've been finding larger student accounts receivable balances in many of the districts that we go to. In the Sussex-Wantage's case at 6/30/25, that was $38,000. I know that's very difficult to resolve, but I just wanted to bring that to your attention. The district is doing what they can to resolve that. And then there's also another required calculation for the food service fund to see if we have any net cash access resources. That's their terminology, not ours. So if you do have that, you're supposed to reduce that. I personally think it's a positive when you have more because it gives you the opportunity to buy things. We do work with some districts where the district actually has to fund the cafeteria because they don't have enough money. And then the one formal recommendation that we have is on the DRTRS. It's the district report on transferring students every year in October at the same time as the ASSA. It's done. You have to send into the state a listing of all the students that are transported and, whether they're a regular education student or a special education student, whether they're going to, a special school or they're going to a non-public school. And we did notice that, there were certain categories there were no students reported. And we also noted that the number of students was significantly less than the prior year. And then, you know, we did notice that the district didn't receive any non-public transportation funds for the year, and generally they do. And that the amount of transportation aid that was received in '26 was significantly less than that received in '25. So that the recommendation is just to make sure that, you know, more care is taken and are reporting those students. And then we always include a couple of suggestions. The Governmental Accounting Standard Board, or GASB, is always busy putting out new things. So next year there's 2 new statements which are going to be implemented. The first one I'll talk about is 104, that's disclosure of capital assets. That principally has to do when you're selling a building or other properties, so I don't think that will likely affect the district, but 103 is going to affect all our school districts. It's not going to have any effect on the amounts in, you know, the financial statements that you will see, but it's more like a presentation, and in some cases more information, less information will be included. So there's one section, what we call the ACFR, called the management's discussion and analysis. So they're cutting down the number of categories in there, or areas that we're reporting on, but they want more expansive analysis. And then also the food service fund and the care program are considered proprietary funds or enterprise funds, and the presentation, then I don't think the final numbers will change, but the presentation will be a little different. And then also the budgetary comparison schedule for the general fund will add another variance column. And then I have a couple other suggestions that we usually include to some other districts as well. There's something called confirming orders. When a purchase order is placed after an invoice is received, it's pretty common. It happens more like in an emergency situation, but if the Department of Education were to come out, they're looking for these confirming orders, so it's just a heads up. And then you have a food service management contractor who is the one who operates the cafeteria. They provide an operating statement every month, and we noticed that the daily sales per the operating statement and the district's records weren't in agreement, so we were suggesting that on a monthly basis that's reconciled. And finally, the surety bond for the business administrator. The role of the treasurer was initially designed. The role of the treasurer was involved a lot more, had access to the funds. Now it's more the business administrator. That position has changed over time, so we just suggest that the surety bond coverage for the business administrator be at the same level of required level for the treasurer. Done a lot of talking, so I'd be happy to answer any question anybody might have.
Where on the summary was the lunch balance?
In the actual ACFR itself, and the summary, like the one that's the synopsis of audit,
Yeah, wherever you got the number from, where can I find it?
you can find that in the actual ACFR itself.
Yeah, that's
Yeah. Actually, it's in the, it's also noted in the AMR. There's like a little gray book called the AMR. I don't know whether everybody got did they get a digital copy?
They did, but I think because the meeting was canceled,
Oh, sure, right. A lot of districts are struggling to get the student accounts receivable collected.
Always appreciate the diligence you do with the audit report. You know, I always ask in layman's terms, cause I've seen on the news some just sound like mind-boggling stories of a couple of districts in New Jersey, I don't know, characterizing it as missing massive amounts of money. And, you know, when you look at our books and you audit everything, just in layman's terms, do you detect any malfeasance or missing large sums of money or anything like that?
No. Christina and staff do a very good job.
Thank you.
very much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. At this time, we will move on to audience remarks. Members of the audience are invited to make brief comments about items on this agenda and matters of interest to the district. Do we have any audience remarks? Being none. We move on to the board secretary certification.
Pursuant to NJAC 6A23A-16.10C3, I certify that as of December 31st, 2025, no line item account has encumbrances and expenditures which in total exceed the line item appropriation in violation of NJAC 6A23A-16.10.
Thank you, Mrs. Stryker. We move on to the approval of board minutes for January 8th, 2026, annual reorganization and regular session and executive session. Can I get a motion?
Motion.
Thank you. A second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Simmons?
Yes.
Mrs. Morocco?
Yes.
Mrs. Deli? Abstain. Mr. Gashion?
Yes.
Mr. Little?
Abstain.
Mrs. Maloney?
Yes.
Mrs. Space?
Yes.
Minutes are approved.
Thank you. At this time, we do need to go into executive session for approximately 45 minutes. Action will be taken. May I get a resolution, please?
Whereas pursuant to NJSA 10-4-12B, the Sussex-Wantage Regional Board of Education may exclude the public from that portion of a public meeting at which the board discusses any of the matters described at NJSA 10-4-12B1 through 9. Now therefore be resolved that the Sussex-Wantage Regional Board of Education shall enter into closed session to discuss personnel and legal matters. Now therefore it be further resolved by the Sussex-Wantage Regional Board of Education that pursuant to NJSA 10-4-13B, the time when and the circumstances under which the discussion conducted in closed session can be disclosed to the public is when the need for confidentiality no longer exists.
Thank you. Can I get a motion?
Motion.
Thank you. A second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any noes? We are back in public session. Thank you for waiting. At this time, we will move on to the presentation of agenda items.
Thank you. Under personnel, I'd like to move items 1 through 17, administratively pulling number 16.
Can I get a motion?
I'll motion.
Thank you. A second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Simmons? Yes. Mr. Gashion?
Yes.
Mrs. Deli? Yes. Mr. Little?
Yeah.
Mrs. Morocco?
Yes.
Mrs. Malone?
Abstaining from number 12, Miranda Yanish and Stephanie Short, yes to the rest.
Mrs. Space?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Under policy, moving items 1 and 2.
Can I get a motion?
I'll motion.
Thank you. A second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Simmons?
Yes.
Mrs. Deli? Yes. Mr. Gashion?
Yes.
Mr. Little?
Yes.
Mrs. Morocco?
Yes.
Mrs. Malone?
Yes.
Mrs. Space?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Under finance, moving items 1 through 13.
Can I get a motion?
I'll motion.
Thank you. A second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Morocco?
Yes.
Mrs. Simmons?
Yes.
Mrs. Deli?
Yes.
Mr. Gashion?
Yes.
Mr. Little?
Yes.
Mrs. Malone?
Yes.
Mrs. Space?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Under special services, moving items 1 through 11.
Can I get a motion?
I'll motion.
Thank you. A second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Deli?
Yes.
Mr. Little?
Yeah.
Mr. Gashion?
Yes.
Mrs. Morocco?
Yes.
Mrs. Simmons?
Yes.
Mrs. Malone?
Yes.
Mrs. Space?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Referring to the addendum, under personnel, I'd like to move items 1 through 18.
Can I get a motion?
I'll motion.
Thank you. A second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Gashion?
Yes.
Mrs. Simmons?
Yes.
Mrs. Deli?
Yes.
Mr. Little?
Yes.
Mrs. Morocco?
Yes.
Mrs. Malone?
Abstaining from number 12, Miranda Yanish, yes to the rest.
Mrs. Space?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Under policy, I'd like to move items 1 and 2.
Can I get a motion?
I'll motion.
Thank you. A second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Gashion?
Yes.
Mrs. Morocco?
Yes.
Mrs. Deli? Yes. Mr. Little?
Yes.
Mrs. Simmons?
Yes.
Mrs. Malone?
Yes.
Mrs. Space?
Yes.
Motion carries.
And under special services, I'd like to move items 1 through 10.
Can I get a motion?
I'll motion.
Thank you. A second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Deli?
Yes.
Mr. Little?
Yes.
Mr. Gashion?
Yes.
Mrs. Morocco?
Yes.
Mrs. Simmons?
Yes.
Mrs. Malone?
Yes.
Mrs. Space?
Yes.
Motion carries.
And under curriculum, I'd like to move item number 1.
Can I get a motion?
I'll motion.
Thank you. A second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Deli?
Yes.
Mr. Gashion?
Yes.
Mr. Little?
Yes.
Mrs. Morocco?
Yes.
Mrs. Simmons?
Yes.
Mrs. Malone?
Yes.
Mrs. Space?
Yes.
Motion carries.
At this time, we will move on to unfinished business. Does anyone have any unfinished business they'd like to discuss? Seeing none, we'll move on to new business. Does anyone have any new business they'd like to discuss?
Just curious, picking folks' brains, just in the last rundown, I give you a rendering of a potential, we got the grant this year for the enhance the front of the Sussex Middle School recreation grant, so I was gonna apply for one for next year. No guarantee we're gonna get it, we'll be competing with the township, they're gonna put an application forward, so I feel like the state has a habit of like alternating who gets it. But if we were fortunate enough to I submitted a rendering of like a potential outdoor classroom type environment. If anybody had a chance to look at that.
Yes.
Yeah, cool,
Very cool,
not
yeah.
cool, yeah, okay.
But there, we
I
were.
did, I put it in there because of you.
I appreciate it, we talked about it in building secret
Yeah,
house,
okay.
but there was some speculation over where something of that stature would be placed
Yeah.
at the Lord's.
Yeah.
Like we're,
Yeah, I mean, I haven't gotten that far, but there used to be kind of where the trailhead is for that current, you know, the one in the bushes.
were we bushwhacked?
Yeah, yeah,
Last-
yeah.
Okay, yeah.
In front of that, there was an area that used to be like an outdoor space where they had benches and things like that, so.
Yeah.
But you'd probably have to consult like with the wetlands and all that kind of stuff.
What it specifically looked like, the picture you had?
Nah, that was just something I found to kind of, an idea of what I was thinking, you know?
Yeah, I liked it, that was cool.
Yeah, okay.
No excuses.
That's
fine, yeah.
It's covered, we're
Exactly.
done.
Exactly, yep.
Thank you.
Anything else? Seeing none, we'll move on to audience remarks. Members of the audience are invited to make brief comments about items on this agenda and matters of interest to the district. Seeing none, we do not need to go into executive session. Can I get a motion for adjournment? Thank you. A second? Thank you. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any noes?